Hello everyone. From both the video and the written contextual information provided, I recognize the distinct differences between IEPs and 504 plans and their eligibility processes. For an IEP, a student must have one of the 13 qualifying disabilities to be eligible for special education services. These include ASD or autism spectrum disorder, deafblindness, deafness, emotional disturbance, hearing impairment, intellectual disability, multiple disabilities, orthopedic impairment, other health impairment, SLDs or specific learning disabilities, speech or language impairments, TBIs or traumatic brain injuries, and visual impairments, including blindness. If a student is struggling either academically or behaviorally, and one of the 13 criteria is suspected, an evaluation can be requested to determine the child's eligibility. To qualify, a student must meet the three-pronged test where 1, they are diagnosed with a qualifying disability, 2, there is a discrepancy between a student's cognitive ability or learning potential and their academic achievement, and 3, a student requires services to access the general education curriculum for educational benefit. This means simply having a disability alone cannot gain a student access to an IEP. In an IEP, a team of specialists is assigned to your student, and each specialist will determine a plan and set of goals for the child based on their identified disabilities, such as a student with ASD will receive both behavioral goals and academic goals if both their behavior and academic progress are affected by their disability. Behavior goals may be social goals or goals targeted towards maladaptive behaviors that are affecting students' learning. And academic goals can be anything from speech and language, possibly requiring the intervention of a speech pathologist, or a math component or a reading component requiring the support of a reading specialist or math specialist. Every year, an annual meeting is held to review the goals and progress of the students, and throughout the year, progress reports are given to the parents of the students. A parent must be given notice about and an invitation to an IEP meeting, and a parent can call an IEP meeting at any time if they feel the plan needs revisiting. At this meeting, the whole team is in attendance, including the teacher, the principal, the specialists, possibly a caseworker from whatever regional center granted the diagnosis, the school nurse, the school psychologist, and parent. In elementary school, the children are not present. However, the children may be present in middle school or high school. This meeting lasts about an hour, and every single goal with a specific quantitative data is read aloud and initialed, and the whole team has a chance to share what they've been working on with the child, what they've observed, and any progress they've made. Every member of the meeting signs this legal document, and every member receives a copy. Eligibility is reevaluated every 3 years at a triannual meeting. This meeting is often extensive and can last for several hours. A 504 plan, which falls under the Anti-Discriminatory Rehabilitation Act of 1973, is different in many ways. Firstly, a child can have any disability to qualify if that disability affects one or more major life activities, such as learning, reading, or concentrating. If a student is evaluated and deemed to have a disability that affects one or more of these major life activities, but does not require the significant support of specialized education services or changes to the curriculum, they can be granted a 504 plan to receive accommodations or modifications to the classroom environment to make their education accessible. These accommodations can be extended time on tests, preferential seating, or assistive technology like calculators or screen readers, to name a few. This does not I have personal experience as both a parent and an educator with both IEPs and 504 plans. As a parent, my daughter had an IEP for 9 years under the umbrella category of autism, of which I attended every meeting and was an involved member of the IEP team and process. Alternatively, as a long-term substitute, in lieu of the teacher who was on maternity leave, I attended both an annual meeting for one of my students who had an IEP and another meeting for one of my students who had a newly developed 504 plan. The 504 plan was newly developed for a student who had just been diagnosed with diabetes, and the accommodations were basically centered around if their blood sugar was under 70 or over 180 milligrams per deciliter, they wouldn't be required to take any tests at that time because their blood sugar level would affect their cognitive function. It was also deemed that they didn't have to participate in PE if their blood sugar level was under 120 milligrams per deciliter, at the risk of it dropping too much with the physical exercise. They had to leave class a few times a day for sugar checks, especially before meals or snacks, and all food that they consumed had to be thoroughly calculated and measured alongside their insulin dose to make sure they didn't go above or below a normal range. However, the IEP was dedicated to helping a student who was behind 4 grade levels in reading and spoke to the very significant measures it would take to try and support that student in making as much progress as possible. Goals and supports for this student included special organization methods and planners, 30 to 45-minute intervals with specialists where they'd be outside of the classroom, reduced or alternate assignments that involved reading or writing, one-on-one instruction, and others. I only tell you the differences of these 2 meetings because I feel like it can help others understand the difference between IEPs and 504s. One is a special education service that requires a team of individuals who are each simultaneously working on providing support and services to a student to improve their academic performance, while the other is accommodations made so that learning is accessible to a student without having to worry about developing or meeting specific goals, timelines, behaviors, or other criteria that require the intervention of specialists. Thank you for listening.